Hi there. There are a couple of books, actually, 7 books I'd recommend if you're looking into the topic of financial literacy or wealth creation. The first book is The Rules of Wealth by Richard Templer. Very fascinating, very interesting book. This guy focuses on this rule concept. So he has books on the rules of work, the rules of etc. But now this on the rules of wealth, he focuses on various aspects. There's a section he talks about thinking wealthy. A couple of chapters stood out for me. One is deciding on your definition of wealth. Very, very important thing to think about early on when you're starting your wealth creation journey. The second one is understanding your beliefs and where they came from. So it is very important for us to interrogate where our thought processes and our thinking and mindsets around money came from, because that shapes how we create, maintain, and retain wealth. The other one is if you see money as the solution, you'll find it as a problem eventually. So you'll eventually find the thing you want money to solve does not solve. So that's a section of thinking wealthy. The other one is how to get wealthy. So a couple of chapters stood out. The one is learning the art of deal making, learning the art of negotiation, and mastering the art of selling. So that's something that sort of stood out as I was reading through that section. Then there's the aspect of knowing how to share your wealth. One chapter he talks about knowing when and how to say no and when to say yes. A very important nugget there around deciding how to share your wealth, because at some point you would also need to not only create or maintain your wealth but also share it either with your family, with your friends, with your church, with with a cause that you're passionate about. So how do you choose how to distribute your wealth? Because that is also a principle that we need to appreciate and understand. So there you go. Book number 1. Book recommendation number 2 on financial literacy and wealth creation is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Quite a household name in terms of writing on this topic. The Psychology of Money again is just a viewpoint on money from the psychological and human perspective. So he digs deep onto issues around greed, what influences greed, what influences happiness, what influences risk and reward from a human perspective, because in most cases we end up making emotional rather than financial decisions. So how does those emotional aspects of our lives affect our wealth creation? Very fascinating book. The next book I would recommend is it's called The Next Millionaire Next Door. It's written by a PhD professor. A professor is always a PhD. Thomas J. Stanley. This guy he has specialized on conducting research on wealthy families in the US. So the reason it's called The Next Millionaire Next Door because he wrote an initial book called The Millionaire Next Door, which I actually read before this, and that one focuses on studying on wealthy families and how they got there and what they were doing. So this one is sort of futuristic, looking at what are the things you can look at a person or a family or an individual and almost point you to the fact that they would be wealthy. So there are a number of chapters that stood out. One is what are their lifestyles, how do they spend their money, etc. How they choose on education, which is a clear indication of what someone is willing to learn and look at. So various topics around mindset, opportunities, decision making, just behind the curtains on very wealthy families in the US, which the wisdom and the nuggets are quite transferable even to your own context, wherever you are in the world. The next book is Money, very simple title, by a guy called Rob Moore. Basically, it's a very in some cases very technical. I think this guy is in the UK. So one thing he dives is how to be a disruptive entrepreneur. He also discusses what is money from the simple perspective, the purpose and nature of money, capitalism, understanding various aspects like capital, equity, income, etc. So they are quite principle-based topics and also very technical topics. And then there's a very good section. He talks about the strategy and systems. So how you can monetize your passion, what you can sell, understanding compounding, how to fundraise, etc. So very interesting book. I'm sure some of you are entrepreneurs might be interested in that. This book again, this is the other recommendation, is called The Truth About Money. So already by the title it implies there could be some falsehood about money. Written by Tim Sion Bambu Kimani. Bambu is his stage name. He's originally a musician, so that's his most popular name. He's written a very fascinating book, and he actually boldly claims that what you learn in this book is what schools don't teach you about capitalism. So you can check that out. The other book, this is very specific, written by a Kenyan, is How to Invest in Real Estate. In Kenya, I know for most of us, having a property portfolio is part of your wealth creation journey. So how are you going to do it sustainably, and practically how are you going to implement that? So he talks about home ownership, commercial investments, and also managing issues to do with the loans and mortgages. So very simple, practical guide, and I think it's probably the cheapest in this book review. Then Managing Your Finances God's Way by Gladys Juma, a Kenyan author, financial coach, and writer. So very experienced in advising individuals and businesses around financial management and financial literacy, but not only just managing it, but also God's way. So very principle, value, faith-based approach to managing money. So thank you. That's all for today in terms of my book reviews for financial literacy and wealth creation. Thank you.